I'm Aaliyah, this is Candace, and this is Reese, and we did Chapter 11, Portfolios.
We wanted to start off by talking about what are portfolios. So they are the primary method of evaluation in most fields. They can be defined as a purposeful, systematic process of collecting and evaluating student formative and or summative assessments to document progress toward the attainment of learning targets or show evidence that learning targets have been achieved. So if you want to see if a student has made a short-term learning target, that would be a formative assessment, which is to see if a student has done something in the now. If you want to monitor a long-term learning target, then you would use a summative assessment, which is like a benchmark or an EOG or even an SAT or an ACT to see if they've done the goal that you've set with them or even a goal that they've set by themselves.
What is the purpose of a portfolio? So the purpose of a portfolio is of course assessment, but the primary design of a portfolio has to begin with a clear idea about the purpose of the portfolio, which comes from the educator or the teacher. The portfolios are a great assessment tool for assessing different dimensional skills. So for example, it was an English portfolio. The portfolio would assess reading, it would assess writing, it would assess problem solving, and could even assess teamwork and cooperation with other students if it's a team portfolio. With plenty of time within the portfolio for self-reflection, critical thinking is a massive target of portfolios, and it keeps the students accountable for their own work. As classes are usually standard-based, the portfolio should be aligned to the content area of the standards and of the class. The purpose of a portfolio is, of course, to influence contents and criteria that are used for evaluation within the classroom. Every portfolio is highly individualized to the student, which means it requires the individual's metacognition, different skills, and different multi-dimensional skills. For example, if the primary purpose of this portfolio was to illustrate student capability, then a celebration portfolio would be the best portfolio to choose. If for example, some portfolios are used at teacher-parent conferences, for example, so the portfolios must be directed towards the audience, which is parents and not students. So a lot of portfolios are audience directed. There are two major types of portfolios, which are documentation portfolios and growth portfolios. Within documentation portfolios, there are three subcategories: competence portfolios, project portfolios, and celebration portfolios. And growth portfolios is its own subcategory. Documentation portfolios document the progress that the student makes throughout the year. Project portfolios are literally a project. So if it was an English project and the student uses different skills and has different requirements for the project. Celebration portfolios, essentially the student will pick the work that they think is best, the work that they may have worked hardest on, and put it in one portfolio. So this would be used throughout the semester. And finally, growth portfolios show the improvement of the student's competence within the semester. So there may be grades from the start of the semester and grades from the end of the semester, hopefully showing an incline of student assessment towards the end of the semester.
The next up is advantages of portfolios. So students are involved in self-evaluation and self-reflection, which is one of the most important advantages of portfolios that they can have. Students will become part of the assessment process and function as self-directed learners. So we don't want students to just be taught just by us. We want them to also learn. We want to give a little instruction and let them teach themselves, not just, hey, do this, do this, do this. We want it to start as that, but then they grow and learn themselves. They promote an ongoing process wherein students demonstrate performance, evaluate and revise to learn and produce and improve. They can focus on self-improvement rather than comparison with others. So like Reese said, you can take grades from the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester, and they can compare them and see where they have improved and where they still need to improve, and see the growth that they have had. Because of portfolios, students have samples in them. Student motivation is enhanced because they can see the link between efforts and accomplishments that they have made.
The disadvantages of portfolios. Like most assessments, this one also has some not so good parts. Just like the other performance assessments, scoring is a major drawback. To get accurate, effective portfolio assessment takes many hours and resources. One of the final disadvantages that the book talks about is the potential for limited generalized ability.
Implementing portfolio assessment. So at this stage, planning the portfolio is complete, and we can now begin to use the portfolio within the classroom. To do this, the first step is to explain to the students what and how the portfolio will be used throughout the semester. It might be within a portion of the semester, or it may even be for a week of a class period. A couple of things to run through before using the portfolios are that, do the students know why the portfolio is important? Is there a table of contents included so the students know what is required? Is there a checklist of the contents once it's been complete? And are the student-teacher conferences included? Is the teacher going to give the student feedback? Many students won't be familiar with portfolios, so as teachers, we need to go over them carefully and explain in detail why they are important and why they're a good tool to use for assessment. Portfolios usually come in around middle school with the student taking full accountability, so it may take some explaining first. The professors need to make sure that they start with the learning targets, show examples of what's expected, and give the students time throughout the whole portfolio process to ask questions, because this is how the students learn, by asking questions. And then give the students structure, but ensure that they can work on their own and maybe deviate away from the structure. So not every single portfolio will be the same, and not every single portfolio will be identical, but will have the same requirements and the same expectations.
For teacher evaluation and feedback, there are 4 different ideas, which are checklists of contents, portfolio structure evaluation, evaluations of individual entries, and evaluation of entry contents. And with checklists of contents, depending on the audience that someone is trying to capture, checklists can vary from being brief to being relatively long. For portfolio structure evaluation, this is how a teacher scores a portfolio, and they have 5 different aspects that they use, which are selection of samples, thoroughness, appearance, self-reflection, and organization. For evaluations of individual entries, when scoring a portfolio, it is good for teachers to give sufficient feedback so that the student knows what they can fix for the next time. And the last one, for evaluation of entire contents, it looks at more of the overall standard rather than the individual standard, and it points out the strengths rather than the weaknesses.
Digital portfolios. Within today's day and age, of course, less and less of education within classrooms is on hard paper, hard books, and that is why digital portfolios have now been introduced within the education sector. A digital portfolio is a dynamic and changing electronic collection of evidence which is typically stored and managed online with software apps, and programs. An advantage of using a digital portfolio is that it encourages the use of multimedia elements. In today's day and age, these students are going to be using laptops, they're going to be using iPads, and the students are going to have that technology that we didn't typically have when we were growing up. So having a digital portfolio gives them a chance to use software that's been developed, such as presentations, using images on presentations, using clip art, using different videos, and multimedia elements. digital portfolios promote the use of unique materials that reflect the students' individual voices. So within the digital multimedia element, there are many ways that students can individualize. There are many ways that students can create their own way and have their own twist on things, ensuring that, like we've mentioned before, that none of these portfolios will be the same and identical either. The digital type of portfolio can have the same purpose as a hard copy. It can be used exactly the same way, but it allows some additional features to further extend learning, encourage individualized engagement, self-directed learning on more authentic topics. It encourages the students to use more features, and especially with the difference of a hard copy. If it was a hard copy, the student would hand it in to the professor. The professor maybe wouldn't submit it for marking or correction straight away, and they would write on the hard copy by hand. Whereas with the digital portfolio, the teacher can make edits online as well, so the students can take it away from the classroom, can work on it at home, and when they've got spare time, other than just working on the allotted time period within the classroom. This is our recapping video on portfolios.
Hello, today we are going to look at portfolio assessments. A portfolio is a purposeful collection of student work that tells the story of a student's efforts, progress and success in a given content area over time. Portfolio provides an ideal way of managing assessment by demonstrating progress in skills, knowledge and attitudes for a given learning area. Portfolios can be used for formative or summative assessment. Portfolios deliver an authentic assessment by providing a more comprehensive picture of what a student knows, understands and can do. The material for a portfolio is collected from various sources through multiple approaches and over multiple points in time to measure students' learning and achievements. Portfolios are a great way to provide students with a way to directly influence and be involved in their assessment. When students gather their work to create their portfolios, they are reflecting on their prior learning while also being actively engaged to realise their potential. This involvement in reflecting on learning promotes growth and increasing one's depth of knowledge. Portfolios provide students with a sense of ownership in their work and opinions, whereby students become empowered in their learning. Portfolios also highlight a student's strengths and weaknesses. Students and their teachers can establish goals to address their weaknesses, thereby enabling individualized instruction that caters for each student. Portfolios can increase the communication between teachers, students and parents. In a child-involved parent-teacher interview, the child can present their portfolio to his or her parents. Here, the parents can get a glimpse into their child's learning and development and can contribute to their child's learning experiences. An English portfolio can include writing samples from various genres, such as persuasive writing and narrative pieces. It can also include journal entries, reading summaries, bookmarks, anecdotal records, writing checklists, projects, spelling tests, rough draft and final versions of text. Portfolios work in alignment with the Australian curriculum by providing students with the means to plan, draft and publish a variety of texts appropriate to purpose and audience.